Good evening and welcome to the virtual college exploration for all North and South Carolina students, sponsored by the Carolinas Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Officers and StriveScan. Thank you for joining us. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A feature on your screen to type questions to our presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are turned off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. Be sure to sign up for additional sessions and check out the full schedule at CACRAO.org. This session will be recorded and will be available within about a week at the same website, CACRAO.org. I'd now like to turn it over to our presenters.
Thank you. My name is Ludine Lewis. I am the Regional Assistant Director of Admissions for Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. I'm so excited to see all of you here today with us. I actually live in the Atlanta area and I recruit students from Georgia and the Carolinas, specifically for the Daytona Beach campus. And I'm going to turn it over to Crystal.
Hi, my name is Crystal Cobb. I'm the Senior Assistant Director of Regional Admission for the university, and I'm just excited to help you guys with some questions tonight. Turn it over to Jerry.
Hi, I'm Jerry Kidrick, and I'm an admissions counselor in Prescott, Arizona. Welcome.
All right, and hi everyone, my name is Sarah Bofferding. I'm the Director of Admissions at the Prescott, Arizona campus of Embry-Riddle, and I will be your presenter today. So as they mentioned, just a couple of quick things. Feel free, I've got Crystal and Jerry and Ludine here to help answer these questions along the way during our presentation, so please feel free to utilize that Q&A section. So we're just going to spend today about 30 minutes or so talking about Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. And to kick our presentation off, I do have a quick video to share with you all.
Blazing trails in technology, aviation, business, and cybersecurity. A future defined by innovation, finding solutions for industry partners as the world's premier aerospace institution. Our continuing success speaks for itself. We've earned top distinctions across our campuses and worldwide. We're training the workforce of tomorrow, adding value to the industries we serve, and expanding our growing global reach. We promote problem-based discovery in career-focused programs. We are the leading edge, a global education leader opening up opportunities for students. Our history and heritage spans nearly 100 years, founded with a vision of endless possibilities to launch new generations of pioneers and dreamers, putting the future firmly into focus for us and for you. Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. What will you explore with us?
So here's what we're going to explore today during our presentation. We're going to talk about the fast facts, so just some general things we want to make sure you're aware of about Embry-Riddle. We'll touch base on some of our academics, including our projects and our opportunities that we do have for our students, which will lead us right into outcomes of where an Embry-Riddle education can take you. We will learn a little bit about our 2 residential campuses, and then we will close out with the next step, so how to become an Embry-Riddle student. So jumping right into these fast facts, and these are just some of the big things we want to make sure that you're aware of about Embry-Riddle, and we'll start with our aerospace engineering ranking. So we have been ranked #1 by US News and World Report, not just once, not just twice, but actually for 20 years. And I think that says a lot about the education and the quality of the education that we do provide. You know, about 5 years ago doing this presentation, it was pretty exciting to be able to say, oh, we've had that ranking for 15 years and then 16 years, but here we are still holding that title by holding that #1 spot. first and only college of security and intelligence in the nation. So at our Arizona campus, we have this academic college, which houses our cybersecurity degree, as well as our global security degree program. And we created this college and these programs because Embry-Riddle, something that we strive to do is to stay innovative and to stay on the leading edge. And in the early 2000s, back in the day when I was a student here, there was a big need for security and for safety and for intelligence. And that sparked us to create these degree programs, all to kind of grow and to mature a little bit, but also to give us this first college of security and intel. Revolutionized the first and only aerospace physiology program of its kind. So our campus in Daytona Beach, Florida has this newer degree program in aerospace physiology. So it is a pre-med degree program, and what it really entails is kind of seeing how space travel affects the human body. Back when I was a kid, one of my favorite shows was The Jetsons. And as space travel becomes more and more of a realistic opportunity for our future, we're going to have to start advancing in the technology and the study of what happens to the human body. And just some additional facts that we want to make sure that you're aware of. So the first being our ABET accredited institution. So our engineering programs at Embry-Riddle are all ABET accredited. And whether you're looking at Embry-Riddle as an institution or even another school with an engineering program, we would recommend that you look for a program that has this accreditation with it. ABET is the overarching governing body that kind of makes sure what you're learning in your degree is preparing you to go into the industry. And just a couple other things I do want to point out, the alumni network of over 137,000 students, that's huge for our current students and our prospective students because it provides somebody who you know in the industry. It provides a connection and a network which can open doors for our students to be successful. And the last one that I will point out is that our graduates yield amongst the highest with the return on investment in the nation. So return on investment is what you're getting out of your college tuition dollars. So our students, while yes, they're coming to Embry-Riddle and paying a tuition cost, as we get to the outcome section, you will find that our students are getting careers in their career paths. They're starting to make that income, and the return on their investment is amongst the highest in the nation amongst other colleges and universities. So like I said, just some quick facts we want to make sure that you're aware of about Embry-Riddle, and we will jump right into our academic section. So within this section, I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about some of the projects, the hands-on projects and competitions that our students are involved in. We'll talk about study abroad as well as internships and our faculty members. So some of the next few slides are about these projects and competitions, and we're starting off with our flight team. So at both of our residential campuses, we don't have football teams, but this would essentially be the equivalent of our football team. They're our flight team. It's basically an intercollegiate sport. They compete in flight competition against other schools that have flight programs. So what is so unique about our flight teams is that we have won the national championships 13 times. And our Golden Eagles have actually been inducted into the Air and Space Museum Hall of Fame. So for those of you interested in being pilots, you might consider trying out for the flight team. So like I said, just like an intercollegiate sport, they host a tryout. You might have a flight spot on the team, which means you'll compete in flight activities as your competition. Or you may have a ground spot where you have a ground activity. If you are fortunate enough to make it onto the team and to have one of those flight spots, any of your practice time and your competition time is paid flight hours by the university. Plus, you get to put on your resume that you were a part of the winningest team in NYFA history. So besides airplanes at Embry-Riddle, we also love space, as you can imagine. So we've had students aid in the research from NASA's Kepler mission in surveying binary stars. So if anybody happens to recall, the Kepler mission was up a couple of years ago, and they came back with all these pictures of star clusters, and they were given, some of our Embry-Riddle students were given pockets or batches of those star clusters. And what they're looking for is they're trying to find binary stars. So two stars that are in orbit around each other. And what they're really trying to find out is if there's a third body within that orbit. Because if there is, what that could potentially indicate is that there's two binary stars potentially orbiting around a third star. So if you happen to be on that third star, it would basically be like you were in Star Wars on Tatooine, where you saw two rising suns and two setting moons in your atmosphere. So undergraduate students aiding in this research with NASA. Now at our Arizona campus, we do have a business club within our business programs, and it's called Pi Beta Lambda. What's so unique about this competition is they compete in the Arizona State Business Competition. So they compete against our big state schools such as Arizona State, Northern Arizona, and the University of Arizona. So these are large colleges that have thousands of students in their business programs. And yet here has come Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, and we have swept this competition for the past 13 years in a row. Going back to a little bit about space, we like to mention this project because it is such a great story for Embry-Riddle and for our students specifically involved. So we had students contribute to the LIGO's Nobel Prize winning gravitational wave detection research. So LIGO happens to stand for Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory. Basically, there's two centers within the United States that are large facilities. They shoot lasers, and they're just looking for little tiny ripples in these lasers. Nothing that could be seen by the naked eye, but that heavy machines are using to detect these little ripples. Well, in one of the research opportunities or experiments that they were doing, they actually saw these little ripples, which means they kind of proved that gravitational waves existed, which means that these two undergraduate students, as well as our 3 faculty members, basically proved Einstein's theory of relativity. So those 2 young women could actually put on their resume that they helped prove Einstein's theory. So we've talked about airplanes and we've talked about space and business, but we also really like robots at Embry-Riddle. Our students like building them, designing them, and with this competition, it was all about creating an autonomous vehicle. So a vehicle that could navigate through a course all autonomously. Our students took first place in the design category and second overall in the intelligent ground vehicle competition. And then the very last project I want to mention happens to do with that College of Security and Intelligence that I mentioned. So we had one of our faculty members write a proposal for a grant specifically in regards to improving K-12 security measures and safety measures. So our faculty member wrote this proposal, kind of went out with our students to one of the local schools, did assessments on what they could do better in the instance of an active shooter. If they could make doors a little bit more secure, maybe windows a little bit thicker. After doing this research and writing this proposal, we were actually awarded a $750,000 grant from the Department of Justice to continue to do this research in the K-12 schools in our area. So now all of those slides that I just talked about, I hope that you kind of realize the hands-on element amongst them. So at Embry-Riddle, yes, you're gonna have your classes, you're gonna have your textbooks and your faculty members that you're learning from, but you're also gonna have this opportunity to get this hands-on real-world experience to help supplement the education that you do get. So another way to supplement the education was with study abroad opportunities. So we have a variety of study abroad programs that happen every summer and even sometimes during the semester on both of our residential campuses. Typically our meteorology students always go study weather in the Swiss Alps. We'll have engineering students go down to study engineering over in Germany. Or we might have students that go down to South America to take some classes at another institution. So the course offerings vary year to year, and it depends on what they do. But what's so unique about this is, especially with Embry-Riddle having 2 residential campuses, it gives our students across both campuses a chance to potentially interact with one another, to go on these study abroads, to kind of share some interest and share that experience. Plus, it gives our students a chance to earn up to 6 credit hours at a potentially discounted tuition rate. Another big aspect to our degree programs and getting an education outside of the classroom has to do with internships and co-ops. So they are not required for any of our degree programs, but we highly recommend them because so many students go out into industry, they do an internship, and then they not only have that experience, but oftentimes it leads to a job offer or at least an interview as graduation approaches so that they can be prepared to go into the industry. To help support these internships and co-ops, we do have comprehensive career services on our campuses, and each student will have a career advisor who can advise them across all aspects of internships and careers. They will help you build a resume, tailor a resume. They will help you search for internships and job opportunities. They are there to help set our students up for success. We also host a variety of career expos on our campus. Typically, our biggest one is hosted during our homecoming weekend, and we do that specifically to connect back to that alumni network that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. So for Career Expo, lots of times our Career Services Department will reach out to companies in all aspects of aviation, aerospace, security and intelligence, and business, and they will try to get those companies to send their Embry-Riddle alumni reps back to our campus to recruit other Embry-Riddle alums. So it's a huge networking opportunity for our students and a great way, again, to build those connections and to set them up for the future. And lastly, in the academic section, I couldn't talk about academics without talking about our faculty members. So some really unique things to our faculty members at Embry-Riddle is a lot of them have actual hands-on experience. We have faculty that are the former chief psychologist for the FBI, former Top Guns, former engineers at JPL in Pasadena, a variety of experience. And that really supplements what you're learning in our classroom because yes, a faculty or a professor can read something out of a textbook, but if they tell you about how they got out of the situation where they needed to create a new way to build or design an aircraft or a part to fit in an aircraft, how much more depth does that provide to your education that you are getting? Now, our faculty are also readily accessible to our students. They are required to have at least 10 office hours a week. That way, if you need help after a class or if you just have questions, you can go see your faculty members. I'll get into our total student body size and our class sizes within the next couple of slides, but we really try to have small classroom sizes to allow for that direct and personalized interaction and that one-on-one getting to know you. I am an alumni of this campus here in Arizona. One of my math classes had 6 students in it. So I will just say I never skipped that class because my faculty member was going to notice if I wasn't there. We also, because of that small class size and that interaction with faculty members, we will also kind of see faculty members sometimes, reach out to you if you were to skip class per se or miss class. They might touch base with you and say, hey, I noticed you weren't there. Is everything okay? Is there anything I can help you with? It really builds a familial type feel to our campus, to our students. And again, it's one of those things that really helps supplement the education that Embry-Riddle does provide. So that wraps up academics, and we will hop into a little bit about the outcomes. So where an Embry-Riddle education can take you. We are really proud of this number here. So over 94% of our graduates are employed or pursuing a higher education degree within 1 year of graduation. And this is huge. So oftentimes, more times than not, I feel like you often hear of students maybe going to a state school, getting a business degree, and then coming back home after graduation and working at Target. Not that there's anything wrong with Target. I happen to personally love Target. However, they're not doing something relevant to their degree program, but our students are. And what we really go back to contribute this success to are those hands-on projects, those hands-on education, that internship opportunities that I mentioned about in the previous section. In addition to that, we feed into a niche and an industry at Embry-Riddle that is full of high demand careers. Many people, I'm sure if you're interested in aviation, you have heard about the pilot shortage. Boeing every year does a evaluation and assessment of how many pilots they forecast that we're gonna need. And within the next 20 years, they're forecasting that we're gonna need over 800,000 new pilots, as well as needing new pilots and increasing air travel means we're gonna have to increase the maintenance techs, we're gonna have to increase the business support employees, the engineers to build and design these things, the human factors and the safety and science. It's all right now typically an older demographic of an industry, which is awesome for prospective students like yourself so that you can come in, you can get trained, and you can go into this industry when the need is really there and the demand is really there. So not just the aviation and aerospace industry or aspect of our industry is in high demand. We're also seeing a big high demand in security and intelligence. If you happen, especially since COVID has hit, we're all more readily accessible on Zoom or on video chats. We seem to be able to more so be paying for things with our phones or using our Apple Watches to pay for things. As our society changes to be more reliant on technology, we're also seeing the need for those security and intel and counterintelligence types of career fields. That's also building, the numbers of that. There is a website called cyberseek.org. If anybody is curious, you can go to that website and it'll tell you the number of cybersecurity jobs that are out there right now at this moment. Currently in the United States alone, there's over 500 job positions for cybersecurity and intelligence. So that talks a little bit about the outcomes. Now let's jump into our campus sections and learn a little bit about our 2 residential campuses. So we do have a campus in Prescott, Arizona, as well as one in Daytona Beach, Florida. So with our Prescott, Arizona campus, we have about 3,000 students, which is relatively small in the whole sense of colleges and universities, but going back to that hands-on education that we provide at Embry-Riddle, it really supports that type of atmosphere. We try to keep our average class size to about 25 students per class in order to just facilitate that education that we strive so hard to achieve. Now, socially, we've got a lot of things for our students to be involved in. We've got 200 clubs and organizations. Some of our more popular clubs at the Arizona campus are the Hawaii Club. We have a good amount of Hawaii students on our campus, and they host a luau every year that students like to attend. Prescott is a very outdoor recreational type of town. So our off-roading club is pretty popular, and our mountain biking club is pretty popular as well. We do have Greek life on our campus, 9 fraternities and sororities. Intercollegiate athletics, we participate in the NAIA athletic division. And then on our campus in Arizona, we have Air Force and Army ROTC detachments. And outside of any of the military academies, Embry-Riddle does place the most pilots into the military. Now a little bit about the town itself. So Prescott, Arizona, lots of people think of Arizona as just being dirt and cactus. We do have cactus. But we also have beautiful pine trees. So we're in northern Arizona, about an hour and a half north of the Phoenix area, which means that our weather is pretty great up here. It doesn't get too hot, it doesn't get too cold. We can actually even get a little bit of snow in the wintertime. It's a very sunny location. We picked these 2 residential campuses of Arizona and Florida. It doesn't help, or it helps significantly that we've got great sunshine in both of our states, which means great flight weather for our students. And then the American Lung Association has actually ranked Prescott, Arizona as having the cleanest air in the nation. So if you need a breath of fresh air, you can come visit us in Prescott. Now for our Daytona Beach campus, so we're slightly larger at our Daytona Beach campus. We've got about 7,000 students. However, if you notice the average class size, it's still right at about 27 students per class. So again, while slightly larger than the Arizona campus, it's still a relatively smaller college campus. And again, we go back to kind of tying in that hands-on interaction, that hands-on education to our small class sizes. Now, Lots of things to get involved in Florida. I know that the surf club is popular for them. I also know that the skydiving club is really popular at our Daytona Beach campus, but lots of things for our students to do outside of the classroom. Also, if there is a club that you're specifically looking for, you only need 5 students and a staff or faculty member to be your advisor, and you can start your own club at either one of our campuses. Fraternities and sororities, there's a wide variety to choose from at our Daytona Beach campus. Now, one thing to keep in mind with fraternities and sororities is that they are more academically leadership and outreach type focus than you might see at a big state school. So I wouldn't ever say that we are a party school. You're all probably a little too young to remember the movie Animal House, but pretty set on doing outreach for the community, fundraisers, and that type of stuff. 20 athletic teams at our Daytona Beach campus, and we do participate in the NCAA Division II division out with our Daytona Beach sports. Now, as for the location in Daytona, you really can't beat it if you're a beach goer because you're only 5 miles from the beach and the boardwalk. So you could literally have a flight one morning, you could then go to class, and then you could hit the beach in the afternoon. Again, a very sunny location, which leads to great flight conditions, and only about an hour away from the Kennedy Space Center. So standing actually at our student union, there is an observation deck, so you can actually see the shuttle launches from our campus at Daytona Beach. So a little bit of information about those 2 campuses there. Now let's talk briefly about what you can do to be an Embry-Riddle student, what some of the next steps are. And we'll start with the admissions process. So if you happen to be a high school senior or a transfer student, now is the time to submit your application. So we just started reviewing applications for fall 2021, and we have been reviewing spring 2021 applications for a little bit now. But here's what you're going to need to apply to Embry-Riddle. We're going to need the application. So we aren't a member of the Common App. We have our own Embry-Riddle specific application, and you can find that on our website. Start a profile for yourself, complete it, submit it, and then we're going to need some additional documents. So there is normally a $50 application fee to apply. However, for joining us at this presentation today, we have provided that 4-letter application fee waiver code. So feel free to take a moment and just jot that down or take a picture of this screen. DBPC. Just enter in that code and you won't need to pay that application fee. In addition, we are going to need a copy of your transcripts, so either high school transcripts or college transcripts if you are one of those transfer students. Letters of recommendation, we do ask that you submit 2. And then some optional items. So we are a test optional institution. Therefore, if you happen to take the ACT or the SAT and you don't feel that those test scores accurately represent your educational background, that's okay. You don't have to submit those to us. There's a question on the application that asks whether or not you'll be sending us your test scores. Another optional item is going to be an essay or a resume. And now before I move on to the next slide, some frequently asked questions that we get about the application. So we do have 2 residential campuses, as I've talked about. However, you can only apply to one campus at a time because we share the same database system. Please note that we do have the same admissions requirements, so you can change your mind. At the point of application, you do have to select which campus you want to pursue, but if you change your mind either before you've been accepted or even after you've been accepted, you just need to call us and let us know, call or email us, and we can switch your application to the other campus, assuming that there is space available in their degree program. Letters of recommendation, people oftentimes ask us who would be a good person to write a letter of recommendation, and we do typically recommend at least one from an academic reference, so a math or science teacher, perhaps your guidance counselor from school, and then another one could be a mentor, a coach, another teacher if you would like, basically somebody who's just going to help us get to know you and give us a little bit of insight to you. So here's what we're going to look for in our admissions process. We really have a holistic approach with our admissions review. Yes, we want to see good grades and good test scores, if you submit them, but we also want to get to know you in the process. We want to make sure that you're prepared math and science wise to come into our programs. We want to see if maybe you've taken honors courses, AP courses, IB courses. Perhaps you've already started flying, or you're the captain of the basketball team, or maybe you're on the robotics team. Anything that you are involved in, we want to know about, because it makes our decision process a little bit easier. If we can get to know you, getting to know you outside of the classroom as well as your academic background on your transcript just kind of makes it a little easier for us. Now, as mentioned, we are reviewing applications for the fall 2020 semester. So that is an ongoing process. Now, once students apply and do get accepted, we will review them for scholarships from Embry-Riddle. So over 90% of our students receive some type of financial aid, either through scholarships, grants, or loan opportunities. So with those scholarships, those are the merit scholarships, you just need to apply and be accepted. We will start reviewing our fall 2021 applicants for scholarship hopefully by the end of October, early November, so that you can have a scholarship letter by the time Thanksgiving happens to hit. Besides those merit scholarships, we highly recommend that you file the free application for federal student aid, also known as the FAFSA. The FAFSA just opened today, October 1st, for those starting next fall. So FAFSA basically takes all your information, or perhaps your parents' information in regards to their income and how many students they have in college, and it comes up with, it could potentially put you in touch with federal loans or federal grants. Once we at Embry-Riddle receive your FAFSA information, we will do a review of that as well to see if you're eligible for an additional need-based scholarship from the institution. And then the last two things on this slide, external scholarships. We take external scholarships from any organization that will allow you to bring it to us. There are scholarships out there for having brown hair and brown eyes, for being left-handed. My colleague always says that Jif Peanut Butter has a scholarship opportunity. So there are tons of external scholarships out there. It might just require a little bit of searching on your part, a little bit of time searching Google, or perhaps going to your guidance counselor at school and asking if they know of any scholarships. But that could equal a couple $1,000s worth of scholarship that you can apply towards your education at Embry-Riddle or any institution you decide to attend. And the last point, involvements on campus. So we have a couple of opportunities on our campuses where you might be required to put in some time and effort, but it could equal a scholarship on the outside of things. So one example might be Student Government Association. If you are willing to serve your campus community, your student body community, by holding one of the Student Government Council positions, that could equal a scholarship. So all members of the council do receive a type of scholarship or stipend. Another great example would be being an RA, a resident assistant on campus. If you're willing to kind of be a responsible figure and supervise your fellow classmates within the residence halls, that's free room and board for our students right there. So there's a variety of scholarship opportunities for our students when they do get accepted and plan on attending Embry-Riddle. So that wraps up our presentation, our formal presentation for today. I've seen a few questions come through the Q&A, but I think we've got some time here just for general questions to be asked, and we would all be happy to answer those for you. So if you do have questions, feel free to go ahead and put those into the Q&A and we will answer those out loud. So question, when should we start applying for scholarships if we're a junior in high school? Awesome question. Way to be ahead of the game. So it depends on the scholarship, quite honestly. Most of the external scholarships won't have you apply until you're in your senior year of high school, because they want to kind of scope out the applicant pool against other students who are looking to come into college. That being said, it's never too early to start finding these scholarships, because lots of times scholarships will be offered on a continual basis. So if you find the Jif peanut butter scholarship now, you might, pin that or save that so that you can come back to it when the application opens appropriately for you. Another question, is the application binding or non-binding? So you can apply to Embry-Riddle now, you can get accepted, we can award you a scholarship. All of that could happen within the next couple of months, but it is non-binding. So you would not need to let us know your commitment to Embry-Riddle until May 1st of next year. May 1st is pretty much the universal college tuition deposit deadline. It's called the National Candidates Reply Date, and that is just when we ask that you let us know that you intend on attending Embry-Riddle for the next start term.
Sarah, one thing that we really want to cover from some of the questions that we've gotten are the different options that students have to be a pilot at the university. And so I'm going to let you take the Prescott side, and then Crystal and I can talk about the Daytona side.
Awesome. No problem. So in order to be a pilot, we do have a specific degree program for that. It is called Aeronautical Science, and it's specifically entailed for those that want to be a professional pilot. Now, there's a couple of different options. You might also consider our aeronautics degree, as well as our aviation business degree. But I would say if your goal was to be a commercial pilot, you want to go fly for Hawaiian Airlines, then I would say pursue aeronautical science, because what that's going to provide is it's going to provide you with your general education courses, of course, but it'll also provide you with aviation-based courses like flight physiology and meteorology and safety, plus your flight ratings at the same time. So by the time you graduate, you would have your bachelor's degree, as well as all your flight ratings, with the opportunity to add on CFI, your flight instructor certification. Now, one other thing about flight specifically at our Arizona campus is we do also fly helicopters in addition to our fixed wing aircraft. So our students have the opportunity to either pursue fixed wing flight training or rotary wing flight training.
Awesome. And so one special thing about the Prescott campus as well is that you can study flight in a couple different degree programs. But like Sarah said, if your goal is to be a pilot, then aeronautical science is the degree that you want. At the Daytona Beach campus, aeronautical science is your only option if you'd like to be a pilot. We don't have other opportunities for students to be a part of the pilot program unless you're in the aeronautical science program. So a good distinction between the two campuses and the opportunities there. One other question was about the flight training that they receive at the university. And so since we kind of have an expert with us, Jerry, could you take this question and talk about the flight training that they receive at Embry-Riddle?
Yeah, sure, I'd be glad to. I didn't see the question, but the flight training that you get at either of the campuses starts with your private pilot license, and then you transition into the instrument phase. And then you get a commercial rating, either single engine and then multi-engine rating at that point. We also have a flight instructor program here, and we like to build our own flight instructors. They're the best flight instructors out there. So we take students that come in as freshmen and take them through our course. And then ideally between their junior and senior year in that summer, we send them through our fast track instructor pilot course. Then the real great part about that is that they become Embry-Riddle employees, and they'll get paid an hourly wage, they'll get their medical covered, that kind of thing. But they also are building flying hours, because to fly in the United States as a commercial pilot, if you go to a place like Embry-Riddle, you'll need 1,000 hours of flight time in order to get your airline transport pilot license. So you're going to need to build that time somewhere. The best place to do it is here as a flight instructor, earning some money. And there's another pearl in here, which is you get free tuition. So if you can picture this now, you're a junior transitioning to your senior year, you're a flight instructor. We've got you carrying 3 or 4 or 5 students. You're taking your classes. We limit that to 6 credits because we know you're working part-time, and you're getting that tuition free, and you're making a living financially. You're building time. And so after a couple of years doing that for us, you've got your 1,000 hours of flight time, you've got your flight instructor rating, and then essentially at that point, you're going to be able to pick which regional airline you'd like to go to. That pathway, that regional airline first officer and then captain, and then first officer at a major and then captain, that's a 15-year process, and you started here and you transition into that regional airline, and we have bridge programs that carry you right onto a major airline. So this is the place to start to get the best flying education you can possibly get in the country. As Sarah mentioned, the graduates that are out there are ahead of you. They're already chief pilots, they're already managing airlines. And so when they see a Riddle graduate with a flight instructor rating and their hours and an airline transport pilot certificate, they know what kind of pilot they're going to get, and the higher rate is tremendous. So that's what you'll get here for an education. Our flight instructors, again, there are ex-military people here instructing, there are Embry-Riddle graduates here instructing, and this is the best place to do your flight training.
Thank you, Jerry. And then last up before we end for the night, Sarah and Crystal are actually in charge of some of the special interest scholarships that we have here. So Embry-Riddle, we do love robotics. We love cybersecurity, security and intelligence. So Sarah, can you talk about the scholarship opportunities that students have?
Absolutely. So we have special relationships with certain organizations that tend to feed students to Embry-Riddle, such as Ludine said, First Robotics, Cyber Patriot is another organization, Vex Robotics, and even Team America Rocket Challenge. So because of our relationship with these organizations, we do award special scholarships for students that are participating in these programs while they're in high school. So basically, that's kind of one of those special external scholarships that I talked about. We will need a separate application for that since it is a special one, but you can find those applications on our website. So you can either go to daytonabeach.erau.edu or prescott.erau.edu to the financial aid section, and you can find some of these external scholarships that I've mentioned, some of these degree program specific scholarships, but also the applications for these special scholarships. And depending on how many students we get that apply, it could be an additional scholarship of up to $5,000 depending on the applicant pool. So a great way to kind of utilize some of your extracurriculars that we talked about and your involvements to benefit you with a scholarship. All right, so we have just a couple of minutes remaining for the webinar. If anybody has one final question, go ahead and chat that with us in the Q&A. Otherwise, on behalf of all of us here and Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you learned something new you didn't know before. Please contact us if you have questions. Let us know how we can help you on your path to success, hopefully at one of our campuses in the near future.
All right, we'll wait just a couple more minutes just to make sure that everyone's asked any final questions. But while we're waiting on that, thank you all for joining us tonight. Once you close this screen, there will be a link to a very quick 4-question survey. And if you could, please fill that out so we can have the most feedback as possible. Also, be sure to sign up for additional sessions at CACRAO.org and to check out the full schedule and any other panels that have happened throughout these past couple of weeks. And this recording will be available, like I said, at CACRAO.org. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I don't see any more questions, so we will go ahead and let you guys go and enjoy the rest of your evening. But thank you once again for joining us.